I really don't care about that. Even if it was on steroids, I'd beat the shit out of him. But, you know, if you're a dirty fighter, you will get exposed. Dirty fighters will be exposed in this game. You know what I mean? And
Benavidez boldly declares he can defeat Morrell, insisting that even the use of steroids won't stop him. Benavidez Sr. says David is in great shape physically and mentally. He's highly motivated, especially with a new baby on the way. David's training is intense and his focus is stronger than ever. Benavidez Sr. believes David is on another level compared to Morrell.
Yeah, like you said, you know, this is the toughest fight. You know, I believe that David Morrell is a great fighter. You know, he had a really good pedigree in amateur. You know, he's a two-time world champion. You know, young, strong. A lot of people don't want to fight him. You know, and but you know, there's levels to this shit. You know, boxing, David, I believe that he's in another level. I think David, you know, is gonna stop him maybe like in the 9-10 round. Maybe if he would have just hold on a little bit more like about a year or two. He's a dangerous fighter, though. You know, we're not underestimating him. You know, David's training super hard. David right now is super motivated, mentally, physically.
Benavidez Sr. says Morrell doesn't have the experience for a fight at this level. He thinks David's speed and power will overwhelm him. He's confident David will stop him, and that Morrell hasn't faced a fighter like David before. Benavidez Sr. expects David's aggression and rhythm to be the key to winning.
At the end of the day, like I say, he's a great fighter, good fighter, but he's never been in a fight or atmosphere like this level right now. He's getting nervous right now. He's nervous. He wanted this fight. Now he's talking a lot of shit. He's mad. You know, what the f***? You know, he should be happy. So we're super motivated. You know, David's super focused. And these are the type of fights that we need. At the end of the day, you know, he has everything to gain. We have nothing to gain out of this fight, you know. We have everything to lose, nothing to gain, you know. But at the end of the day, it's a great fight for the people. People wanted to see this fight. And
Benavidez Sr. talks about Morrell's trash talk and emotional reactions, including throwing the belt at David. He mentions that Morrell is getting nervous as the fight gets closer.
That's what I'm saying, you know, when you get these fights and you feel the pressure and now you're like, what the f did I do? And all his team, they you know, they're all nervous, you know, because I think they made a mistake to put him too early.
Benavidez Sr. is confident David will dominate Morrell and believes it could hurt Morrell's career. He points out that every fighter David has faced before has struggled afterward, and he thinks Morrell will be no different.
And I like that he's saying that David's a RoboCop, but he forgot to mention, yeah, he is a RoboCop AI. You know, he's not gonna see those fucking punches coming. You know, David throws a lot of punches, he's very aggressive, and everybody knows what he could do. You know, when he gets his rhythm. So I'm happy that he's thinking that way, because man, he has no idea what's coming to him.
David Benavidez talks about how his pro experience is a bigger factor than Morrell's amateur background. He acknowledges that Morrell might have an advantage in the first few rounds, but says those first 3 rounds won't matter in a 12-round fight. He also points out that his experience in big pay-per-view events gives him an edge, and he's confident Morrell hasn't faced anyone like him at this level.
I mean, I don't really see the amateur as any. I don't see that as, you know, this is not an amateur fight. You know, this is a professional. You know, this is it's a championship fight, 12 rounds. So I mean, he might have an advantage, you know, the first 3 rounds, you know, because of the amateurs. But I mean, other than that, 3 rounds don't mean nothing. To me, I've been in there with the better fighters. I've been in there in the bigger venues, bigger fights. This is my 3rd pay-per-view, 3rd or 4th. So I mean, I have the experience on my side. So it's gonna be different. You know, I don't think he's ever been in anything like this caliber.
David responds to Morrell's antics, saying he doesn't care about them. He believes Morrell is just showing nervous energy because he knows he's in over his head. David mentions that after facing him, other fighters have realized he's on a different level, and he's focused on proving that again in this fight.
Yeah, I don't really care about his antics and none of that. You know, to me, all that stuff from him is nervous energy. You know, he knew he bit off a big portion that he can't chew, you know what I mean? And he can say anything he wants. He could act like that I'm RoboCop, like how's he saying that, you know? But at the end of the day, I know exactly what I could do. You know, every other fighter that I've fought, every high caliber fighter has said the same thing.
David talks about the timing of drug testing for his upcoming fight, noting that in previous fights, like against Caleb Plant, testing began immediately after signing the contract. For this fight, testing started later, which he feels is insufficient. He emphasizes his commitment to clean boxing, stating he's been tested over 40 times and is pushing for more testing to ensure fairness.
When you go through other fighters that say, hey, I was tested by VADA, but then David Morrell was not tested, it brings a lot of questions up, you know what I mean? I'm not the only fighter that says this. There's been 2 other fighters that say this. They say that David Morrell, we're talking about a Betco, they say he was tested the whole camp, David Morrell was not tested, and after the fight they didn't do no test, no drug test, which is kind of odd to me, you know, but I really don't care about that. Even if it was on steroids, I'd beat the shit out of him.
David emphasizes the need for more drug testing in boxing, particularly for his upcoming fight. He highlights that he's been advocating for increased testing and believes that if any fighter is using steroids or cheating, they will be exposed. He stresses the importance of integrity and fairness in the sport.
It's not good for people, you know, to use steroids, so, you know, I'm not gonna let that shit slide.
What's the status of that right now, the testing? What is being used?
What?
What is the status of the testing right now? Like, what is being used?
We're being tested because I keep putting pressure on VADA, saying that we got to test. And it's supposed to be the
interim for WBC?
WBC and then WBA.
Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, but you know, at the end of the day, these are the high caliber fights that need testing. When I fought Caleb Plant, when I fought Demetrius Andre, we were testing 14 weeks out.
David stresses that he's not asking for anything he hasn't already done himself, mentioning he's been tested over 40 times. He reiterates his commitment to clean boxing and ensuring the sport is fair, pushing for proper testing to avoid any unfair advantages.
And it's not like I'm asking stuff that I didn't do myself. I mean, I've been tested more than VADA by anybody. I've been tested more than anybody. I mean, by VADA by anybody. You know what I mean? I've been tested over probably 40 times. So it's not like I'm telling them to do something I didn't do myself. You know what I mean? When I fought Caleb Plant, they wanted to test as soon as we signed the contract. So it's not like I'm asking them to do anything, you know, and then for them to act like, you know, we're making them do something that they're not supposed to do. You know, we're supposed to take VADA tests. You know, it's supposed to be clean boxing. Isn't that why VADA's in boxing?
Jose Benavidez Jr. is sure David will win the fight. He's seen the opponent and doesn't think he's anything special. David's been training hard, always improving, and right now, he's unbeatable. Jose also mentions that based on the interviews and face-offs, the opponent doesn't seem confident.
I don't think it's going to be hard at all, to be honest with you. I don't think it's going to be no challenge.
So you got him.
You gotta understand this. You know, they say he has power. Okay, he might have power, but my brother was sparring Triple G at his prime. Triple G was stopping everybody.
Jose talks about the Morrell power. He says Morrell might have power, but David has faced stronger fighters like Triple G. Jose adds that the opponent's punches are easy to see coming because he telegraphs them, so David will be ready for them.
So,
Kelly Pavlik.
yeah, so Kelly Pavlik have fucking power. You know, all these guys. At the end of the day, power. I feel like this guy shows his punches too much. He shows them. He loads up when he's gonna throw his big punch. And when you load up like that, you can see the punch coming. You get ready for it. So it's always a punch that you don't see coming when that hurts.
Jose addresses Morrell's comments about David not being as offensive due to fear of Morrell's power. He says he doesn't pay attention to social media and hasn't heard these comments until now. Jose believes that once the fight starts, everything changes and Morrell's words won't matter. He's confident David will perform well in the ring.
When you get in the ring, it's a different story. Everything changes. Everything's different. So, I guess, I mean, like I said, I don't take nothing from him. He can say what he wants to say, but when it comes fight night, he's gonna bite his own word, you know?
Demetrius Andrade talks about the Benavidez versus Morrell fight, saying it's a 50-50 matchup. He mentions Morrell lacks the same experience as Benavidez. Andrade also points out Benavidez's long arms, making him tough to hit. He says Morrell's punches are wild, but could get better with time.
1 or 2 of his fights, I was like, okay, he's a big kid. He got some decent speed, but he's a little wild with his punches. You know, that comes with experience, of course, when he'll start tightening it up. Is he tight right now to be able? Because David does have a good. His arms are long. Listen, his arms are long to me. You know what I'm saying? Morrell's bigger than me, so he might have long. But when you have throwing punches at him, his arms are so long, it's so tough to hit him, especially if you're coming off wide. You got to really pinpoint the shots with David. I don't know if Morrell has that in him.
Jesus Ramos says Morrell's talented with solid amateur experience, but needs more pro experience. He noted Morrell showed frustration in his last fight and needs to face tougher opponents to get better at handling tough rounds.
But I just feel like he's lacking the experience, you know, that Benavidez already has. He fought Andrade, he fought Caleb Plant. Those are tough guys, man, and he beat them. And Morrell, you know, he's extremely talented. He's got a lot of amateur experience, but I still feel like, and I think he kind of showed it in that last fight where he needs that pro experience.
Jesus says Morrell needs more pro experience, especially against tricky fighters who can take him into the later rounds. He gives the edge to Benavidez, thinking he'll win in the later rounds, even if Morrell starts strong.
He needs a tricky, cagey guy to take him some rounds, because he got a little frustrated there, you know, in that last fight. So I still feel like he lacks that experience. And I feel like Benavidez has been there and he has done that. So I think that I give the edge to Benavidez in that aspect. And I feel like Morrell might come out strong, but I see Benavidez edging that out in the later rounds.
David says he's been training hard and that this fight is what people want to see, with real beef between the fighters. He feels it's a huge fight for him, probably the biggest, and the tension makes for a better story.
I've been, you know, training extremely hard, and these are the type of fights I want, because these are the type of fights that people want to see. They want to see real animosity, and they really want to see two people that don't like each other go against each other.
David says the tension is real, and both he and his opponent genuinely don't like each other. He thinks it makes the fight more exciting and sees it as a great opportunity, calling it one of his biggest fights yet.
You know, it's been going good. You know, even on the promotional side, you know, it's even better because none of this stuff is fake. Yeah. I really don't like him, and he doesn't like me, and that just it makes for a better story for the fight. And yeah, man, you know, but at the end of the day, you know, I kind of have this attitude. You know, I feel like I kind of have to have this attitude towards everybody, because at the end of the day, everybody's trying to come in there and take what I have, and I'm not going to let that happen.
David talks about how his Morrell trash talking got to him. He usually stays calm, but admits that sometimes things get under his skin. He understands this kind of stuff happens and accepts it.
What me more about everything is that he has a big mouth. You know, he talks a lot of stuff, and you know, if you see me, you know, I really don't get out of character a lot, but you know, it's fine. You know, sometimes I understand that this is going to happen. And, you know, sometimes people are going to get under my skin.
David says his experience in high-level fights will help him in this match. He's faced tougher opponents before and can go hard for 12 rounds. His volume and intensity pick up as the fight goes on, and he's confident he can break down his opponent's style.
Boxers that move around a lot, that try to use the whole ring, and I've fought with brawlers that just try to sit there and brawl the whole fight. So I kind of know, I already have a game plan. I know exactly what I need to do. It's just for me to really establish my game plan and then just stay committed to the game plan. And I feel like once I do all my game plan right, the knockout is going to come on its own.
David adds that David Morrell is a tough fighter with good movement and a solid jab. He believes once he gets inside, he'll dominate.
You know, I'm very excited. I'm very motivated. You know, I know exactly what I could do. I know David Morrell, he's a tough opponent. You know, he moves around a lot. He boxes. He has a good jab. He has long arms. But, you know, at the end of the day, none of that is going to mean anything. Once I get inside and get my offense started, there's not going to be anything he could do to stop me.
Benavidez talks about almost canceling the fight with Morrell because there was no testing for weeks. He kept asking when testing would start, but they kept saying next week. Once he threatened to cancel, Vada showed up the next day. Benavidez also mentions that at the press conference, Morrell seemed shocked when steroids were brought up, and his trainer quickly took the mic from him.
Testing 14 weeks out. Andrade, same 13, 14 weeks out, start testing. Because they wanted to test me because they said I was dirty, supposedly. Or if they thought I was doing cocaine or whatever it is. I tested, I did whatever. So then when I get this fight with David Morrell, you know, we knew about it months before, like 4 months already. So I told them, you know, I'm not asking stuff that hasn't been done, but when are we gonna get the test? They kept saying next week. And so I told them, I'm like, bro, well, how the f are we not testing when I heard that he takes steroids? And, you know, we're already on week 9. No testing. I told him, bro, I'm going to cancel this whole fight.
Benavidez points out how strange it is that Morrell wasn't tested regularly, especially with a big fight ahead. He feels proper testing is crucial for high-profile matches, and the lack of it raises suspicions.
When I was talking, when I brought up steroids and said what I just told you right now, Morrell took his glasses off, in my opinion, in a form of shock. Like, oh, he just said that. And then Luis Cuba Sr. grabs the mic, gets up, and starts yelling. And then after that, they left. That already, for me, if somebody tells me I'm taking steroids, I'm speaking up right away. Like, man, f you, I'm not taking no steroid. What are you talking about? David Morrell didn't say shit. Luis Cuba Sr. took the microphone away from him, and he started talking for him. You know what I mean? I don't know what they were planning, or they have some sneaky shit going on, but they're not going to play that with me.
Benavidez mentions he's been tested over 30 times, while Morrell hasn't been tested as much. He finds it suspicious and feels something's off, especially with the importance of the fight.
I'm getting tested every single week, but if I would have let it be, what if something would have happened, and then on the third week, oh, now it's bad at test, you know what I mean? And this is what these people do, bro. They take steroids in week 8, week 9. They train, that shit gets flushed, and by the time they get to week 3, they bring in the testers. Oh, now it's time to test when there's no steroids in there no more.
Morrell addresses the accusations without directly responding, making it clear he doesn't make excuses. He doesn't engage with the suspicions others have raised about him being a clean fighter.
They do because they haven't fought against anybody that's really at their level. And when they do end up about to face someone at their level, then they start to say things like that oh, the doping this or something else that's, you know, like beyond the pale.
David Morrell says he and his team don't make excuses. He believes other fighters who haven't faced top-level opponents make excuses when they fight someone like him because they can't handle the challenge.
The pale, and then because it's a no-lose situation for them, where if they lose, they say, oh, it's doping this, doping that. If they won, oh, I was just the better fighter. So I would just tell them, train as hard as you can, train strong, because, you know, that's all you're gonna be able to do against me. And in the end, the better fighter is gonna win.
Morrell says when fighters face real competition and lose, they blame things like doping, claiming that's why they lost. But if they win, they just say they were the better fighter. He sees it as a way for them to cover up their lack of preparation or skill when facing someone at a higher level.
Lo que pasa con ellos es que toda su vida están adaptados a pelear con boxeadores que no le exigen. Y cuando llega uno que verdaderamente le exige, pues la única excusa que tienen es esa, que si es doping, que si pasa esto, que si pasa lo otro. Igual que cuando tienen miedo también empiezan a sacar como que a buscar excusas de todos lados, como iremos en Cuba, poniendo el parche de que caiga la botera. Para en todo caso que pierdan, no, hay que hacerle prueba del doping, hay que hacerle prueba de esto. Si gano, no ganeo porque soy el mejor. O sea, son estrategias que ya están pasadas de moda, pero bueno, nosotros no tenemos excusa.
Sana Agbeco points out that even though there were concerns about PEDs, Morrell wasn't tested before their fight, but he was. He's questioning why Morrell's team wasn't tested and why they didn't push for it. He suggests there might be something fishy about it. He also says the boxing system is messed up, with businessmen more focused on making money than making sure the competition is fair.
There is some sort of sense of suspicion.
Of course. Yes, of course, there is a sense of suspicion because of, I mean, the thing is, even in the fight in Vegas, he had acne all on his back, on his face and everything. And Benavidez fought Jose Benavidez. He was present when I fought Morrell in Minnesota. So, of course, you know, these were concerns that I brought up, I raised with, and he actually was in my corner, was in my locker room as well, because he had Valenzuela at the time fighting Chris Colbert. So we had, you know, we really had a good time, a lot of time to really talk and, you know, really get to know each other. And I brought up that issue at the time too. And I think that he's very well aware what being on enhancements can do for you, and that's why he's very much concerned. And
David Morrell talks about his upcoming fight with Benavidez, saying it's been a long-awaited matchup. He's all in on giving 100% in his prep. While he respects Benavidez and his team, Morrell makes it clear there's nothing personal. It's all business in the ring.
Right now, so my mental is the present, not the future. Right now I'm focused on this time. I have a long time when it comes, so I'm focused right now. Everybody watch me. Everybody know me. And tomorrow in the house. So now it's 4 months. I have a surprise.
Jesse Hart's hyped for the Morrell versus Benavidez fight on Feb 1st, says it's big for the division. He's gonna watch closely and thinks Morrell showed some weaknesses in his first 12-round fight, especially with fatigue in the later rounds, which could give Benavidez the edge.
I want to see how David Benavidez performed at 175. He looked like he was about 200 and something pounds. He looked like he was about 220 at the face-off when I seen on Premier Boxing Champions. That guy didn't even look like a fighter. No athlete should ever get that big, ever, in history of his boxing. That's laziness, that's inactivity, and that's just, I don't care. I'm gonna eat what I want, a bunch of tamales and beer drinking. He had a beer belly, ladies and gentlemen. That was a beer belly. I'm not looking there. Every time you see Jesse, I'm lean, mean, and cut up in great shape. I will never, that's not how fighters supposed to carry themselves. That's not how champions supposed to carry themselves. Dave Morrell, I'm looking, has he grown? Can we get him, that last fight, I seen a lot of weaknesses in him, a lot of weaknesses. I'm looking at have he grown from that fight that he went 12 rounds for the first time in his ever career.
Caleb Plant breaks down Benavidez and Morrell's styles. He says Benavidez is aggressive with solid combos, while Morrell's more strategic and calculated. Plant's excited for the fight, thinks the style clash will make it a fun matchup.
Their styles are different. Southpaw, right-handed, one puts their punches together very well, and so does David Morrell, but he's a little more crafty. He's a little more maybe passive in his approach. I'll say that. And but that's a big fight. That's one I'm excited for. So.
Tim Bradley thinks Morrell's still too green. He wasn't impressed with Morrell's last performance and doubts he's ready for top contenders. Bradley favors Benavidez, pointing to his ability to switch between pressure and effective boxing.
I think Morrell still needs a little bit more seasoning, to be honest with you. I wasn't too fond of his last fight.
Part of why
I really was
Benavidez. Yep.
Yeah, it wasn't too fond. Benavidez can do a little bit of everything. We only see him as being the pressure type of assassin type of guy, throwing quick combinations and really, just stepping on the gas and squashing guys. But, he can move and box if he wants to as well.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more updates and exclusive content. Hit the bell icon so you never miss a moment. See you in the next video.